Picture this. A 17-year-old homeless teenager walks into a Navy recruiting office. She's got nothing but the clothes on her back and a burning determination to create a better life. Fast forward 3 decades, and that same woman has revolutionized an entire industry, trained thousands of financial professionals, and fundamentally changed how we think about money psychology. Meet Saundra Davis, the woman they call the financial coach's coach. While most people were arguing about whether financial coaching was even a real profession, Saundra was busy creating the standards, ethics, and training programs that would define it. But here's what makes her story totally fetch. She didn't just stumble into this field by accident. Every trauma, every struggle, every moment of financial desperation she faced became the foundation for a coaching philosophy so revolutionary, it's still shaking up the financial planning world today. This is the story of how a homeless teen became the OG of financial coaching, and why her bold philosophy that coaches can do harm might be the most important thing you never learned in business school. From homeless to the Navy. Let's rewind to the beginning. Saundra's childhood wasn't exactly a financial planning success story. She experienced homelessness as a teenager. Imagine being 17 years old with nowhere to sleep, no stable address, and watching your peers worry about prom while you're trying to figure out where your next meal is coming from. But here's where Saundra's story takes an interesting turn. Instead of letting circumstances define her future, she made a decision that would change everything. She walked into a Navy recruiting office at 17 and enlisted. Now, this wasn't just about having a roof over her head, though let's be honest, that probably mattered. This was about something deeper. The Navy gave her structure, purpose, and her first real lesson in financial systems. But it also gave her something else entirely unexpected. She became a single mother at 19. Picture this. You're barely an adult yourself, you're serving your country, and suddenly you're responsible for another human being's entire future. Most people would have felt overwhelmed. Saundra, she got fierce. She later said, "I'm not in the business of helping people be more comfortable with being poor. My role is to help people create the life they want and take action on what they need to do to make it happen." That quote tells you everything about her mindset. Even as a young single mother in the military, she wasn't thinking about survival, she was thinking about transformation, the academic awakening. Here's where the story gets really interesting. After her military service, Saundra could have taken the traditional path, get a steady job, play it safe, focus on raising her child. Instead, she decided to go back to school, but not just any school. She was going to get serious about understanding money. At 44, let me repeat that, 44, Saundra enrolled in Golden State University's Masters in Financial Planning program. Think about that for a second. While most people at that age are thinking about retirement planning, Saundra was thinking about career launching. And here's what makes this totally fascinating. She wasn't just studying financial planning because she wanted a career change. She was studying it because she had lived the gap between financial knowledge and financial behavior. She had experienced firsthand what it felt like when traditional finance advice just doesn't work for real people with real problems. In her LinkedIn profile, she poses 3 questions that basically became her life's work. What inspires people to live with their money in a way that honors their values? How do you help people align their financial choices with their heart, head, and hand? And how do we ensure that all people have access to competent and ethical financial advice? Those aren't just academic questions. Those are the questions of someone who has been on both sides of financial struggle and knows there has to be a better way. The awakening. Behavioral finance meets real life. In 2004, fresh out of graduate school, Saundra entered the financial planning world. But she got lucky, and I mean really lucky. She immediately connected with some of the most innovative minds in behavioral finance, Dr. Ted Klontz, Dr. Brad Klontz, and George Kinder. These weren't your typical save 20% of your income financial advisors. These were people who understood that money behavior is driven by psychology, trauma, and deeply rooted emotional patterns. For Saundra, it was like finding her tribe. She attended the Financial Planning Association's residency program, where she had to build a financial plan from scratch. No software, no templates, just raw financial planning skills. But here's the kicker. Their clients for this exercise were 2 of the most respected planners in the country, Dr. Dave Yeski and Alyssa Bowie. Imagine the pressure. You're being evaluated by legends in the field. But this experience taught Saundra something crucial. The technical stuff, the calculations, the projections, the asset allocation models, that's the easy part. The hard part is understanding why people make the financial decisions they make and how to help them make different ones. The revelation. Coaches can do harm. Now here's where Saundra's philosophy gets really revolutionary, and it might make some coaches uncomfortable. While everyone else in the industry was talking about how coaching helps people, Saundra was asking a much more difficult question. How can coaches accidentally harm their clients? Her specialty became trauma-informed financial coaching, and she explains it with a scenario that should make every financial professional pause and think. She says, if I'm working with someone who has experienced domestic violence, And financial control was one of the ways that abuse happened. And the first thing I do is sit down with them and say, I want you to bring in your bank statements and do this and that. What does that feel like to that person? Answer, it feels like another person trying to take control of their money. In trying to help, you've just re-traumatized them. This isn't theoretical for Saundra. She explains, I have no idea what you've been through. I've harmed them again in my effort to help. This level of awareness about the potential for harm isn't taught in most financial planning programs. It's covered in most coaching certifications, but it's absolutely critical for anyone working with people around money. The philosophy shapes everything Saundra teaches. It's why her programs focus on trauma-informed approaches. It's why she emphasizes the importance of understanding not just what clients want to achieve, but what emotional barriers might be standing in their way. Building sage financial solutions. Armed with this revolutionary understanding of financial psychology, Saundra made another bold move. In 2012, she founded Sage Financial Solutions with a mission that was radically different from most financial firms. Instead of focusing on high net worth clients who could afford comprehensive financial planning, Sage specifically targeted low and moderate income communities. These were people who had been systematically excluded from quality financial advice, not because they didn't need it, but because the traditional financial planning model didn't work for them. But Saundra wasn't going to just provide financial coaching to underserved communities. She was going to train other people to do it properly. This is where her genius really shows. She recognized that to create systematic change, she needed to change how financial professionals were trained. The financial fitness coaching certification program she developed isn't just about teaching coaching techniques. It's about teaching coaches how to recognize their own biases, understand trauma responses, and create safe spaces for people to explore their relationship with money. When all of EARN's coaching services were transitioned to Sage in 2012, Saundra suddenly found herself responsible for a massive financial coaching operation. Instead of being overwhelmed, she used it as an opportunity to refine and scale her training methods. The philosophy, continuum of care. Here's where Saundra's approach gets really sophisticated. While most people think of financial services as separate silos, you have financial education over here and financial planning over here and therapy somewhere else entirely, Saundra sees it as a continuum. She calls it the financial health continuum of care, and it includes education, counseling, coaching, planning, and therapy. The key insight is that people need different levels of support at different times, and the goal isn't to force everyone into the same type of service. A person dealing with debt shame might need therapy before they can benefit from financial planning. Someone with good financial knowledge but poor implementation might need coaching more than education. A person ready to optimize their investment strategy might be ready for comprehensive financial planning. But here's what makes this approach brilliant. Saundra trains her coaches to recognize where people are on this continuum and refer them to the appropriate level of care. She's not trying to be everything to everyone. She's trying to make sure everyone gets what they actually need. This philosophy has literally shaped financial coaching efforts around the country. When people talk about meeting clients where they are, they're often unconsciously referencing concepts that Saundra pioneered, the training revolution. But Saundra wasn't content just to create a great coaching practice. She wanted to change how the entire industry approached client relationships. So she did something that was both brave and a little bit crazy. She started teaching experienced financial planners how to become better coaches. At Golden Gate University, she created a course called Coaching Skills for Financial Professionals. Think about this. These are CFPs, experienced planners who have built successful practices. And they're going back to school to learn from someone who approaches money completely differently than they do. This course teaches planners how to bridge the gap between what clients know and what they actually do. Because here's the dirty little secret of financial planning. You can create the most brilliant, mathematically perfect financial plan in the world. But if your client doesn't implement it, you've accomplished exactly nothing. Studies show that 70% of clients implement less than 20% of recommendations made by their financial planners. Think about that statistic for a moment. 7 out of 10 people receive professional financial advice and then don't follow it. Saundra's coaching techniques address this implementation gap by helping advisors ask fundamentally different questions. Instead of just gathering data about their clients' financial situations, coaches learn to ask questions that help clients discover their own motivations, obstacles, and behavioral patterns. The credentials that matter. Let's talk about Saundra's credentials for a moment because they tell a story about someone who never stops learning. MSFP, Master of Science in Financial Planning. A PFC, Accredited Personal Finance Coach. FBS, Financial Behavior Specialist. MCC, Master Certified Coach. But here's the one that might surprise you. She's also a certified mindfulness teacher through Search Inside Yourself, specializing in workplace self-care. This isn't some random add-on credential. This reflects her deep understanding that financial stress is fundamentally a mind-body experience. Think about what happens when you're worried about money. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, your ability to think clearly diminishes. You can't coach someone through financial challenges. without understanding the physiological impact of financial stress. She's also IFS trained, that's Internal Family Systems, a therapeutic approach that recognizes we all have different parts of ourselves that sometimes conflict with each other. Applied to money, this means understanding that the part of you that wants to save for retirement might be in conflict with the part of you that wants to enjoy life now. These aren't just letters after her name, they represent a systematic approach to understanding human behavior that most financial professionals never encounter. The impact, changing an industry. Here's where we need to talk about Saundra's real impact because it goes way beyond her individual clients or even her training programs. She has fundamentally changed how an entire industry thinks about client relationships. When she started training financial coaches in 2006, financial coaching wasn't even recognized as a legitimate profession. There were no standards, no ethics codes, no training requirements. It was basically the Wild West of financial services. Saundra didn't just participate in creating these standards, she led the effort. The financial fitness coach and accredited personal finance coach certification programs she developed are now used by organizations across the country. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Financial Coaching Initiative used Saundra as their lead coaching trainer. But perhaps most importantly, she was a founding member of the Financial Therapy Association. This organization has created an entirely new field that combines financial planning with psychological insights. Today, financial therapy is recognized as a legitimate specialty with its own research, training programs, and professional standards. Think about that trajectory. From homeless teenager to literally helping create a new profession. That's not luck, that's vision, persistence, and the absolute refusal to accept things that have stayed the way they have always been. The mindful money movement. What makes Saundra's approach so powerful is that she recognizes money as both practical and deeply personal. Her integration of mindfulness into financial coaching isn't some new age add-on, it's a recognition that our relationship with money is often driven by unconscious patterns and emotional triggers. As a certified mindfulness teacher, she teaches both coaches and clients how to create space between financial triggers and financial reactions. Instead of automatically responding to money stress with old patterns, people learn to pause, observe what's happening in their minds and bodies, and choose more intentional responses. This approach has been particularly powerful in her work with communities that experience generational poverty or financial trauma. Traditional financial education often assumes that people just need more information to make better choices. But what if the real barrier isn't lack of information, but unhealed trauma responses around money? Saundra's work suggests that before you can help someone create a budget, you might need to help them heal their relationship with money itself. Before you can teach investment strategies, you might need to help someone understand why they feel like they don't deserve financial success. The fierce compassion philosophy. Remember that quote I mentioned earlier? I'm not in the business of helping people to be more comfortable with being poor. That might sound harsh, but it reflects what Saundra calls fierce compassion. Fierce compassion means caring enough about people to challenge them, to hold them accountable, and to refuse to enable self-defeating behaviors. It means recognizing that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to help someone see their own potential rather than just sympathizing with their current circumstances. But, and this is crucial, fierce compassion is only effective when it comes from someone who truly understands struggle. Saundra can challenge her clients because she's been where they are. She can demand excellence because she's demonstrated it in her own life. This philosophy shapes everything about how she trains other coaches. She teaches them to have compassion for themselves first, because you can't give what you don't have. If you're judging your own financial mistakes, you inevitably judge your clients' mistakes too. But she also teaches coaches to recognize when they're trying to be a hero in their clients' stories. The goal isn't to rescue people, it's to help them develop their own financial power. The discovery revolution. Here's where Saundra's approach gets really practical for working coaches. She makes a crucial distinction between discovery and data collection. Most financial professionals focus on gathering information about clients' assets, debts, income, and expenses. That's data collection. Discovery is about understanding what's really driving someone's financial behavior. It's about asking questions like, when you think about money, what emotions come up for you? Or, what did money represent in your family when you were growing up? The goal of discovery isn't to psychoanalyze clients, it's to understand what motivates them, what scares them, and what gets in the way of their financial goals. Because here's the thing, if you don't understand why someone is stuck financially, your advice is probably going to be irrelevant to their actual situation. Saundra trains coaches to look for the gap between what people know and what they do. If someone knows they should be saving for retirement but isn't doing it, the problem isn't lack of knowledge. The problem is something else entirely. Fear, overwhelm, competing priorities, past trauma, family dynamics, or a dozen other possibilities. The coaching conversation is designed to illuminate those hidden barriers and help clients develop strategies for addressing them. The collaborative approach. One of the most sophisticated aspects of Saundra's approach is her recognition that no single professional can meet all of someone's financial needs. As she puts it, she believes in the continuum of financial wellness and works with a diverse range of financial professionals to ensure that we can connect people with the services most appropriate for their needs. This means that Saundra doesn't try to be everything to everyone. She does financial coaching. But when clients need comprehensive financial planning, she refers them to financial planners. When clients need therapeutic support around money trauma, she refers them to financial therapists. This collaborative approach is actually revolutionary in a field where many professionals try to expand their scope to capture more client dollars. Saundra's approach is the opposite. She's become incredibly good at one thing and builds partnerships to provide everything else. For other coaches, this offers a powerful model. Instead of trying to learn every possible skill, focus on developing excellence in your core competency and build a network of professionals who can handle everything else your clients need. The measurement challenge. Here's something most coaches struggle with. How do you measure the success of financial coaching? Traditional financial planning has clear metrics. Did the client's net worth increase? Are they on track to meet their retirement goals? Did they pay off their debt? Financial coaching success is often more subtle or more profound. Maybe success looks like someone finally being able to talk about money without having a panic attack. Maybe it's a client making their first budget and actually sticking to it for 3 months. Maybe it's someone recognizing their emotional spending patterns and developing healthier coping strategies. Saundra has worked extensively with organizations to develop ways to measure the long-term impact of financial coaching. This isn't just academic curiosity, it's about proving that trauma-informed, psychologically sophisticated coaching approaches actually work better than traditional financial education. The data she's collected over the years shows that when people receive coaching that addresses both the practical and emotional aspects of money management, they're significantly more likely to follow through on financial goals and maintain behavior changes over time. The mentor's legacy. What really sets Saundra apart is her commitment to developing other professionals. Students who have taken her courses consistently describe her as transformational. One former student said, "Her trainings never fail to inspire me and recharge my passion for the practice. She is an excellent trainer and an inspiring mentor." Another described the impact of her program. "I have the foresight to slow down, facilitate conversations, and ask more open-ended questions in a way that guides my clients to discover their own answers. Since completing the certification, I've noticed a significant improvement in my coaching practice, and I feel revitalized in my love for coaching." These aren't just nice testimonials. They represent a fundamental shift in how financial professionals approach their work. Saundra isn't just teaching techniques. She's changing people's entire philosophy about what it means to help someone with money. Her approach to professional development is also worth noting. She spends $10,000 per year on her own continuing education. Think about that commitment. Even as someone who is recognized as a national expert, she continues to invest heavily in learning new approaches and refining her skills. As she puts it, always get better. I've been a coach since 2006. I do professional development every single year. The systematic change vision. Saundra's work isn't just about helping individual clients or training individual coaches. She's trying to create systematic change in how our entire society approaches financial wellness. Her insistence on the highest professional standards for financial coaching helps ensure that this field doesn't become a dumping ground for people who couldn't succeed in other areas of financial services. When Saundra talks about ensuring that all people have access to competent and ethical financial advice, she's not just describing her business model, she's describing her vision for a more equitable financial system. The practical wisdom. So what can working financial coaches learn from Saundra's approach? Let me break down some of the key principles that you can start implementing immediately. First, always start with discovery, not data collection. Before you ask about someone's 401k balance, understand their relationship with money. What emotions come up when they think about financial planning? What patterns do they notice in their own financial behavior? Second, recognize that resistance usually indicates unmet emotional needs, not lack of knowledge or willpower. If a client keeps procrastinating on financial tasks, there's probably something they're afraid of or avoiding. Your job is to help them understand what it is. Third, be willing to refer out when clients need services beyond your scope. If someone needs therapy, refer them to a therapist. If they need estate planning, refer them to an attorney. Your value isn't being everything to everyone. It's being excellent at what you do. Fourth, invest in your own professional development continuously. Saundra's $10,000 annual commitment might not be realistic for everyone, but the principle matters. The field of financial coaching is evolving rapidly, and staying current requires ongoing learning. Finally, understand that your own relationship with money will impact every client interaction. Do your own work around money trauma, limiting beliefs, and emotional triggers. You can't take clients where you haven't been willing to go yourself. The call to action. Here's what I found most inspiring about Saundra's story. She didn't wait for permission to create the change she wanted to see. When she realized that financial coaching needed better standards, she created them. When she saw that coaches needed trauma-informed training, she developed it. When she recognized that low-income communities were being excluded from quality financial advice, she built programs specifically for them. This is what real leadership looks like. It's not about waiting for someone else to solve the problems you see. It's about developing the expertise and building the systems needed to solve them yourself. For financial coaches watching this, the question is, what gap do you see in how people are currently being served? And what are you going to do about it? Maybe it's developing specialized expertise and working with entrepreneurs or divorced women or young professionals or retirees. Maybe it's integrating new therapeutic approaches or technology tools. Maybe it's creating educational programs for communities that aren't currently being reached. The specifics matter less than the mindset. See the need, develop the expertise, build the solution, and measure the impact. The transformation principles. As we wrap up Saundra's story, let's identify the key transformation principles that make her journey possible, because these same principles can catalyze change in your clients. Reframe the narrative. Saundra didn't see herself as a victim of her circumstances. She saw herself as someone who was gathering experiences that would eventually help other people. Your clients need to see their financial struggles not as personal failures, but as learning experiences that are preparing them for something better. Invest in capability building. Saundra didn't just want a better life. She systematically developed the skills and knowledge needed to create it. Help your clients identify what capabilities they need to develop and reach their financial goals, and create a specific plan for building those capabilities. Embrace the long view. Saundra went back to school at 44. She spent years building expertise before launching Sage. She understood that meaningful change takes time. Help your clients develop patience with the process while maintaining urgency about taking action. Focus on service beyond self. Saundra's motivation wasn't just personal financial success, it was ensuring that others had access to the same opportunities she fought to create. Help your clients connect their financial goals to purposes larger than themselves. Never stop learning. Even as a nationally recognized expert, Saundra continues investing heavily in professional development. Model this for your clients by continuously improving your own skills and knowledge. The ripple effect. Today, Saundra Davis continues her work at Golden Gate University, where she serves as the Director of Financial Planning Programs. She's still training financial coaches through Sage Financial Solutions. She's still challenging the industry to develop higher standards and more effective approaches. But perhaps her greatest legacy isn't any single program or certification. It's the thousands of financial professionals who approach their work differently because of her influence. It's the clients who have experienced financial coaching that actually understands their humanity, not just their balance sheet. It's the recognition, now widespread in the industry, that financial wellness requires more than just technical knowledge. It requires psychological sophistication, cultural competence, and genuine care for client well-being. When Saundra walked into that Navy recruiting office as a homeless teenager, she probably couldn't have imagined that she would eventually reshape the entire profession. But that's exactly what happens when someone refuses to accept limitations, commits to continuous learning, and dedicates her life to service. The question for all of us, whether we're financial coaches or planners or just people trying to create better lives, is what story are we writing? What impact are we having? What legacy are we creating? Because if Saundra's story teaches us anything, it's that your background doesn't determine your impact. Your willingness to learn, grow, and serve does. And who knows, maybe the homeless teenager struggling with money today will become the financial coach who transforms the industry tomorrow. If Saundra Davis has taught us anything, it's that transformation is always possible. For our clients, for ourselves, and for the entire field of financial wellness. That's the real magic of financial coaching done right. It doesn't just change bank account balances, it changes lives. And sometimes, it changes the world.